I'm not going to hear it now.
Shit. Hold on. If I turn this down, turn that down to there.
Yeah.
Can you hear an echo?
No, it's okay.
Okay. So there we are. We're live. There you go. What do you think? Huh?
I was just saying to you there off camera that I'm the first person to give a lot of flack to managers after the games. I think I even wrote an article about this before, saying how I have a big pet peeve about interviewing managers after the games. I just think that you don't get much out of them. And while I'm going to try and obviously be entertaining and get me point across, I don't know how to feel. It's good to have all these feelings back, and this is one reason why we love the League of Ireland. I love football in general. It gives you that heartache. I've been walking out during the lockdown. I've been sweating more during that 90 minutes than I've sweated in the past 2 months. So, look, I'm a little bit disappointed. Well, not very disappointed, obviously, with dropping a 1-0 lead. Obviously, Robbie Benson scoring with no own goal so late in the day. So it was great, jumping around the sitting room like a lunatic, thinking what they're beating Shamrock Rovers in the opening day of the season. So to drop that lead...
Well, they're not an OG, no.
That's what I said, yeah, an OG, yeah. But look, I give it to Robbie. In fairness, I was expecting Coughlin to pop into the back post. I didn't, because from the camera angle, I thought it was going straight to the back post. I didn't think it was hitting off anybody. But look, I went in the back of the net. I couldn't care less. At that stage, jumping around the sitting room like a madman. No VAR, so I didn't have to worry about that either. I could just enjoy my celebrations and we take the 3 points. But no, the League of Ireland gods give and the League of Ireland gods take away. Unfortunately, that's the one thing I was only saying. I was watching the match with my girlfriend's dad, and I was saying to him, look, the one thing Pats have to do is just stop the crosses coming into the box, because there's been plenty of crosses going into the box from Shamrock Rovers during both halves. That's all you have to do. A couple of minutes, just hold out. First thing that happens, go up, ball in, Aaron Green, and my little St. Patrick's athletic heart broke. So I am very disappointed. But look, before the game, I even texted you, Roy, saying I'll take a draw. I'll be very happy with a draw. I've gone to Tallaght Stadium on the opening day of the season, facing the champions. So there is a little bit of that aspect that, look, a draw at Tallaght Stadium and any situation is a good result. But just, by the manner that happened I think every Pats fan out there can agree it is disappointing. It's very disappointing.
I was looking at the start of the game. I already said to you, I didn't really know what St. Pat's was going to come out this year. I was pleasantly surprised. They came out for the first 15 minutes. They knocked the ball around very, very well. They put it to Shamrock Rovers at the start. They pressed them and harried them, and they didn't give them much time, did they?
No, they didn't. They didn't at all. And I was the same. I was quite impressed with how they looked. I think both halves sort of played out a bit similar. I think at the start of both halves, Pats came out in the first 10, 15 minutes and done a lot of the pressing. They dominated most of the play. Some of the passing looked very well. But I think, again, in both halves, Shamrock Rovers, the bit of quality did shine through a little bit. Like some of the, especially towards in the latter stages of the first half, a lot of the passing from Shamrock Rovers was absolutely fantastic. Very quick, very zip. And even the moving off the ball, there was always a spare man around. But yeah, I have to say, from a St. Pat's point of view, which look, we will look at Shamrock Rovers a bit more in depth, but from a St. Pat's point of view, I was pretty happy with the performance. I think Pats will be a tough team to play this season. I think they set up pretty well. I think they kept a good shape about them. Defensively, they look a lot more solid than they did last season. The fitness levels throughout the side look better than it has done in the past couple of years.
Now, in saying that now, Nathan, do you feel that St. Pat's towards the last 20 minutes of the game, Shamrock Rovers seemed to be pushing on a lot more and Pats were getting pegged back further towards their own box? I thought they were starting to tire.
See, I thought it was more so Shamrock Rovers are starting to press more so than the tire. I really noticed that the tired legs more so in the last 5 minutes than the last 15 or 20, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
I think it was more so just a case of Shamrock Rovers are really starting to put the pressure on a little bit, and you're seeing a lot more, just like I say, a quick passing, dominant possession, a lot more balls coming into the box. But yeah, I was pretty impressed with the fitness, because it has been something that's probably hindered St. Pat's a little bit, like a lot of the fitness levels have come into question over the past year or two. And I think, look, it's only one game. You know, it's only the fourth game of the season. We can't be getting too carried away. But even in pre-season, I've been pretty impressed with the fitness levels. And, you know, first game of the season, it's natural to see lads dripped off. You know, we've seen the likes of Paddy Barrett. He went down. He came in a bit late. It was natural for him to pull up with a cramp. But no, I was again trying to keep things, you know, on the straight and narrow and trying not to keep too biased. I was pretty happy from someone that's been watching Pats for a long time now. Fitness-wise and keeping their shape and defensively, I was impressed with them today. I really was, I have to say.
Centre back shouldn't go down with cramp, should they?
I was a centre back on my short playing days, and I was always going down with cramp. There's
a little bit difference there now between a professional footballer.
We're the most unfittest group of people on the pitch. That's why we play centre back. There's no running involved. It's just stick me centre back. Let me get me head into it. Let me get me foot into it, and just don't make me run. That's why we do it.
What did you make of St. Pat's team? Is it what you predicted?
Yeah, I think so a little bit. The one thing I might have been expecting Matty Smith to maybe play to the middle a little bit more. Him and Coughlin as more of a front two. Smith was predominantly out on the left-hand side, but I think I'd like to see him play more central. I think there was moments where Coughlin was a little bit isolated up there on his own. If there's moments where Coughlin, you know, he's a good player that when there's he's back to goal. So there's plenty of balls coming into Coughlin. For a guy that's not the biggest in the world, he held it up fairly well. But I think if we could get Coughlin and Smith up there more as a central front here, it might benefit them going forward. But yeah, in terms of the starting 11, there wasn't too many surprises. The one for me was maybe Paddy Barrett and Sam Bowen. That was probably the two I couldn't really predict. Was he going to go with Paddy Barrett or Sam Bowen? But went with Barrett in the end. And in fairness, Barrett gave me one or two moments of literally two quick heart attacks. But I thought Barrett, he looked solid out there, and I think he justified his place in the starting 11.
You were supposed to keep going on for a little bit longer.
This is
a big kick-off. It's our first LOI sports bar, or League of Ireland sports bar, and it's for the fans. It's for you to come on, talk. Look, Nathan has his jersey on, so it's for you to come on and discuss. And he has his beard. That's the most important part.
I'm not a sports bar.
Okay, Shamrock Rovers. It's an interesting Shamrock Rovers because it's completely different Shamrock Rovers now, isn't it? Like, if you think about even the shape they have Ronan Finn. He's not playing wing back anymore. You've got Mandrew in there. You've got Hoare in there. There's a different feel to this Shamrock Rovers team this year.
Yeah, there is definitely. And probably the story of the Shamrock Rovers team going into this season was how are they going to cope without the likes of Jack Byrne and Aaron McAneff, obviously two key players in the title winning season last year. And again, look, we have one game to go off. I think they struggle a little bit. I think you could notice the loss of lads like Jack Byrne and Aaron McAneff. I think there was, don't get you wrong, look, Danny Mandrew, especially later when the game came into it, I thought it was very quiet in the first half, especially. Graham Burke had a couple of chances. A few of them went high wide, not very handsome. But yeah, I think they did miss the influence of Byrne and McAneff in the middle of the park. I think it wasn't really, they didn't really dominate as much as they thought they were going to do. I thought it was going to be a bit of a different game than what it turned out to be. Where Pats I was expecting Pats to do a lot of the sitting back and maybe going on the counter attack. But as we said, Pats came out all guns blazing and put the pressure on. And it took Shamrock Rovers a little while to get into the game. But look, in fairness, and when they did look very well, you know, like the quality did shine through. Even the lads he brought off the bench, you know, like Dylan Watts and Sean Kavanagh. The strength and depth is still in the squad. But I think it will be a bit of a challenge for them this season, you know, replacing Byrne and McAneff because they're two massive players, you know.
What did you think of McCann in midfield? I thought he was excellent. I thought his weight of pass, he sort of conducted the flow of the game. I thought he was excellent throughout the game.
I thought the whole midfield was for both sides. That was the battle I really enjoyed the most. I think Chris McCann, Chris Forrester, again for St. Pat's, really impressed me. I think they were the two outfield players that really impressed. I thought like we know a lot of the games are won within their midfield battles, and it was really, really interesting to see. Like, again, they're not going to be the type of players that are going to make the headlines now in the morning or to make the headlines now on live streams like ourselves. But I think if you really did look at the game and you enjoyed the art of football, I think if you can look at the performance of Chris McCann, he pulled the strings for Shamrock Rovers, didn't he? We're going to name the likes of Mandrew, Aaron Green, Ronan Finn, like these top quality players that we know in the league. But in fairness to McCann, he somewhat went quietly about his business, and his range of passing was very good. His understanding and reading of the game was obviously excellent. And yeah, I thought he really was the conductor in the Shamrock Rovers team, and he really impressed me out there today.
The keepers didn't have too much to do. Roberto Lopez did his best to try and give St. Pat's something in the first half. He started a bit unsteady, but as usual, his defending was excellent. What did you make of St. Pat's as an attacking side? What was missing? What has improved even? What did you see that gives you optimism?
Matty Smith was a big one for me. I thought he done very well. I think he put himself about very nicely. I think, look, we talked last year about the likes of Georgie Kelly up top. It didn't work out for numerous reasons. But yeah, Matty Smith was the one for me going forward that I really enjoyed. As I said, I think Ronan Coughlin was a little bit isolated up there in his own, but he was more so busy. But I think that's what we have to expect from Ronan Coughlin this season. I've seen a lot of him at Sligo Rovers last year. And while he will chip in with goals, he's not going to be the sort of striker that's going to give you 10, 15 goals a season. He's going to be the guy that's going to chip in with 5, 6, maybe 7. And you do need someone to sort of work off him. Like, again, going back to his Sligo Rovers days, he probably done his best work with the likes of Romeo Parks, a big, bruising, quick, just an all-around bigger guy. Where I think he might struggle a little bit when he is playing up top on his own. I think he might be cut short sometimes. He might be a little bit isolated. So that was the one thing that I'd like to see. Like I said earlier, maybe put Matty Smith up there with him. Matty Smith's a bigger guy. I think them two as a fun two partnership, rather than Smith being out on the left-hand side, might work a bit more.
But he did some great work. Welcome, Niamh. Thanks for finally dropping in.
Technical difficulties there.
Obviously, St. Pat's and Shamrock Rovers just doesn't do it for you. All right, waiting for the big day tomorrow. It's like Christmas Eve. It's not the Christmas Day buzz. Niamh, I'll ask you, what did you make of the game? What did you make of St. Pat's and how they played? And even delve into a bit the Shamrock Rovers and their shape, etc.
Yeah, look, it was a very tight game. I was actually surprised how tight it was. I was expecting Shamrock Rovers to dominate a bit more, but I was really impressed with St. Pat's. Ronan Coughlin impressed me specifically as well. And look, I feel really bad for St. Pat's fans. I mean, that 1 minute difference between the champions coming back with their goal, I felt really bad for them. But the formation was really good. I'm really impressed with St. Pat's. It kind of swapped over with domination a bit, didn't it? Like the first half, St. Pat's started off really well, and then Rovers came back, and then vice versa again in the second half. So it was really hard to pinpoint really who was in control for the game, but I was impressed, to be honest, with St. Pat's.
Yeah.
We appreciate your words of kindness. Yeah, it's a tough time at the moment for the Pats contingent. But yeah, before you came on, Niamh, I was saying to Roy, and you might agree yourself now, obviously being a Sligo Rovers fan, I think St. Pat's will be a difficult side to play against this season. I think they showed that, like you said, the shape, the defensive game, I think the fitness looked very good. I think they will be a tough outfit that will match any team this season. I think they will be a bogey side for a lot of sides.
Nathan, when you look at your predictions for St. Pat's on the podcast during the week, do you reflect now on, I know it's one game, it's only one game, but have you seen anything in that might change your mind and be a bit more optimistic?
No, I'm not a stubborn person, in fairness, you know, like I'm very open to change and open to admit when I'm wrong. I still think looking at that team, you know, that they're going to be challenging for that 4th-place position with the likes of Sligo Rovers. Again, just looking at the bench, even the bench is still pretty light. It's still, the squad is fairly thin. The one thing I will say that I will, again, it's probably a bit too early, but I might take back is I question the goalkeeping position. I thought St. Pat's were I was a bit worried about the goalkeeping position for St. Pat's this season. Obviously, like a Yarvas coming in on loan from Liverpool, Barry Murphy, who I didn't expect to be starting anyway. But you know, it's always strange when you get a player coming in on loan. You're always a little bit worried, like how are they going to get on? How are they going to perform? It can be a bit up in the air, can't it? But in fairness to the lad Yarvas in goal, he really impressed. Really impressed me. Pulled off a couple of great saves. He looked dominant. Like 19 years old, he's a big lad, you know, for his age. Yeah. there was plenty of confidence coming for the ball. Like, there was moments where he caught the ball, punched it. He looks really good. That was the one that really impressed me for St. Pat's. So, and that was the one thing I think I will gladly now take back is any concerns about the goalkeeping position. It's still early days, but I think I might be able to accept that I could be wrong on this occasion. It doesn't happen too often.
Niamh, when you look at the two teams are crying out for an out-and-out goal scorer. That hasn't changed this year. You look for Shamrock Rovers, they had Gaffney up front, then they brought on Green, who obviously equalised in the last minute. But for you, out of those two, who would you be starting? If you were in Stephen Bradley's position, who would you be starting?
I'd be starting Aaron Green, to be honest. Just a bit more experience, and he is very quick with the ball. I mean, he really is a talented player. I mean, Mandry as well, he impressed me, but he's not exactly going to be a striker, So I put Aaron Green up there on the first team squad. Was my decision anyway.
Yeah, Nathan, you be similar. Would you put Green there? He did well last year. He played very well last year. He does link up really, really well with the team. He makes good runs, but in the box, when the ball goes in, he attacks everything.
Yeah, I know. I seen that there.
Remember that one?
Yeah, I do remember that one. Right. Thanks for mentioning that, mate. I was just forgetting. I agree. I think Green is the one for me going forward. In fairness, I didn't think Rory Gaffney done that awfully wrong. I thought he looked fairly good. It's a big season for Gaffney. Obviously, he struggled with injuries last year with Shamrock Rovers. We've seen what he could do in the past in the league with the likes of Limerick. So look, while he does have a decent pedigree in the league, it is a big year from, and I think I said loads of times on the podcast during the week that a lot of clubs are really missing that 10-15 goal a season striker. And I did question Shamrock Rovers, and I questioned Aaron Green. I personally, I'd never seen him as that type of player. Similar to Ronan Coughlin, I think he'll chip in with 5, 6, 7 goals. I don't think he'd be the main man to get 10-15 goals a season for them. But he got off to a good start this year, and you could see the influence he had when he came on the pitch. I thought he changed him big time. A lot of the Shamrock Rovers had a lot of good balls whipped into the box there. Nobody's getting on the end of them, and unfortunately for ourselves, Aaron Green did. Like you said, he's willing to attack anything, and I think it'd be very strange if Shamrock Rovers don't play him now in the starting 11 going forward.
Would you feel, Niamh, that Shamrock Rovers are after being dragged back into the pack? Those two players that are gone to Scotland and to Cyprus, does that bring them back to the pack and give everyone an opportunity now to take points off them where they mightn't have last year?
I do think it does. Yeah, I think they've leveled down it. They're more in the mix of the rest of us. They're more closer, more even to the rest in the top 3 or 4. It used to be so dominant, but I genuinely, like I said there before, I don't think it's going to be a Shamrock Rovers dominant season. I mean, Dundalk will be up there as well. Hopefully, Sligo Rovers and Bows and even St. Pat's in the top few. So yeah, I do think it's made a big difference. They're not going to control the season the way they used to. I don't think so anyway.
No, I don't think so either. I think that's going to be it's going to be a different one, all right. Earlier on, the game that we had was Drogheda against Waterford United, Nathan. Not too much to shout about in this game, but there was a few players that were very, very interesting. Drogheda won 1-0, as you can see below us. An OG had to settle it in the end, so that says a lot about the game. But any players that stood out for you? I have a couple, but maybe it's going to match what I have.
Again, look, probably having a little bit of the same part as Athletic Headme. I thought Darren Markey done well before he was taken. I thought he was taken off pretty early.
That was a strange one, wasn't it? I was baffled by that.
Yeah, I thought he looked very creative. I thought he was linking up the play well. He had a couple of moments where he had 1 or 2 opportunities to have a shot on goal, and he scuffed the shots a little bit, which unfortunately he is one to do. We've seen that a little bit of St. Pat's that his creative play is fantastic, and there's no doubt in the guy in his day. He's an absolute superior player. Just the end product might be a little bit lacking, and I think we've seen that again today. So he was the one that did stand out. I thought James Brown had his moments. I thought defensively he looked well. Going forward, he was decent. Some of his crosses were a bit questionable, which is strange to see. Thankfully I got to see him.
But he came up trumps in the end.
He did come up trumps in the end. I got to see a good bit of him last year. And I know I even said to you, Roy, plenty of times, this guy has the potential to be one of the best right backs in the league. And he showed his little bit of that potential this evening. But yeah, just some of the crossing wasn't great, but his defensive play you cannot doubt at all, and the engine in the guy, like, you know, we do see a lot of players in the first game of the season, you know, they're not struggling with fitness, but they're just not up to match speed quite yet. But that was no issue at all with James. You know, he was up and down like nobody's business. Fairness to Waterford had a couple of decent players too. I thought your man Prince up top, he's big, he's physical, you know, he's going to cause plenty of problems this season. So while a lot of us said that we thought Waterford might struggle, but it's a big side, you know, they're big, they're physical. They will cause issue for a lot of teams this season.
Yeah, it's interesting that the musical talents of Prince and James Brown have made their head in the park.
I knew you'd make a joke of that. I knew you would.
Dave, I actually, there was a couple of players, and one was Ferguson at the back in centre back. I thought he was absolutely excellent for Waterford. I didn't think Waterford were exciting. I didn't think there was much about them. I thought they were big. I thought they were strong. They looked disjointed. But in the back line, even though they got beaten 1-0, I thought they looked fairly solid. Yeah, I thought Ferguson was I think he could be a good player for them this year.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I think Waterford's defensive line was much stronger and much tighter than I actually thought it would be. Like, I thought Drogheda would have an easy enough win there, to be honest. Like I said earlier, quite in the dark at Waterford, I thought they'd won a lot. But yeah, that defensive line was quite tight. They were very sharp as well. There weren't many loose balls. I know that the own goal contradicts that statement a bit, but, you know, overall, they were quite tight in the back.
Nathan, when you look at Drogheda, we talked about Massey. Thought he did very well in the back line.
Yeah.
What was his name? Is it O'Neill? No, Brown, is it?
James Brown, yeah.
Two of them were excellent.
You just made the joke.
I thought the back line in both games, our teams were very, very strong. I didn't think they were letting that in. But what it does say to me is when I look at the two games between the four teams, the teams are very good at getting to a certain point. So they're very good at getting to the final third. But then after that, there's not much where you're looking at players beating 2-3 players, taking them on. I don't remember many players taking anyone on in the game, tell you the truth. Even young the Birmingham lad came on. I thought he might have done something. I think he had one run down the line, but I don't think he ever got beyond the player. That's just something that's missing in the Irish game, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that a lot of the opportunities that did come were from either set pieces or crosses in the box. You know, like Waterford's most dangerous player was probably Maskell with his absolute cracking left foot on him, some great deliveries. And while we're actually talking about Waterford, I just had a quick look at the teams. But just a quick shout out to Subawale. I thought he done very well. I enjoyed watching him last year, and I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do this year. But yeah, there was a real lack of that. There was a couple of moments. Obviously, you can pick out certain moments in the games. You know, like between both games, there was we can't say there was no incidents of people taking players on, but there was a lack of it, especially, you know, teams going on the break. There wasn't many opportunities. You're seeing players taking defenders on and trying to get by them. Like I said, a lot of the opportunities came from set pieces.
What I'll say, sorry, Nathan, what I'll say to you is that there may have been times where they were trying to take on, but I don't remember too many times that they actually got beyond them and then got crosses in, or got beyond them and got into the box and dragged other players out of position. I just see that as it's very lacking. I think the only time, well, I might be wrong and you can correct me, but one of the times was when Chris McCann in Shamrock Rovers game, fantastic through ball to Burke on the right hand side and whipped it across and the keeper cleared it. But I don't really remember anyone dribbling past anyone.
No, there's plenty of cutbacks, wasn't there? There's plenty of players having a go and cut, like just on the left hand side, and they might cut back onto the right foot. There's plenty of that, but no, there was no real incidents of players taking anybody on. I think I remember Matty Smith having one go, and he might have got past one player, but he cut back in again. He cut back in and he passed it back in the middle, where these are the opportunities where you want the players to be advancing into the box or getting crosses in straight away. With there's plenty of cutting in, and like I said, harking back to where a lot of the big chances did come from set plays and from balls in the box.
Yeah, Niamh, we're missing the likes of a Paddy McCourt, you know, someone like that in the league that'll, you know, even Richie Towell, you know, people who will actually take on people, go at them, you know, even little 1-2s, but I'm not even seeing that, not even seeing little 1-2s. What team this year do you think is going to have that little bit of a spark, or does anyone have that little bit of spark? Is that why our national team is in such shit?
I think Dundalk kind of stand out to me in that way. Like, their midfield is very strong, and they're strong players. They're physically built as well. You know, they're the type that go forward. Even the like of Chris Fields, you know, they go right in there. But of course, I mean, this is only my opinion, but even looking at the Shamrock Rovers game there tonight, free kicks and cards, like, they're given away quite easily. It's quite scary probably to go in properly and go for a proper attack because you're terrified you're going to get given a card. That might have a slight impact on as well. I'm not sure. They might just be gaining confidence as well. You know, the league's only just started back. You might see more of those attacks, more of those links as the season goes on, I suppose.
Yeah, I think, Nathan, there was one in the game against Shamrock Rovers where Desmond came across, made a super challenge, an absolutely fantastic challenge, and the referees give him praise for this. This is the modern game now, and it's been ruined by referees who are afraid, you know, scared shitless, I suppose, to make a wrong decision. So they're making a wrong decision out of that, you know, out of being scared to not make a decision, if you know what I mean. They're afraid that someone's going to say something to them for a tackle that some fella's after screaming and he's lying on his back and he's crying about it, and then he'll get slaughtered in the papers the next day. Referees are gone to crap, really, aren't they?
Yeah, look, I'm not one. I think there is certain games where I think fans do take the cop-out answer of blaming referees, but I do think the refereeing standard in the league for a long time has been absolutely horrendous, and that was very evident, I think, in the St. Pat's and Shamrock Rovers game. There was a lot of tackles went in the first 10-15 minutes, and it's a Dublin derby. It's an opening game of the season. There's going to be nerves, and I think the referee could have gave plenty of opportunities just to let the game flow a little bit, let the game get into a natural rhythm. But the first half an hour, especially, was very stop-start, and there was no chance for anybody to get any sort of momentum going, really, in the open half an hour. And some of the, like you said, the Lee Desmond one for me was absolutely crazy. It was a super tackle, got the ball. There was a couple of others, even on the Shamrock Rovers end, that they won the ball very cleanly, and it was just stopped. So it's always tough to get a flow in them sort of situations when you have a referee that's constantly stopping the start in the game. And there was even plenty of moments where, just for example, Shamrock Rovers whip a corner in, Pats would clear it, and Pats be on the break. And Shamrock Rovers player would pull a Pats player down, and instead of letting the Pats team go on and play and play in a counter attack and play and keep going with the game, he stopped it and pulled it back for the foul, even though there was an opportunity for Pats to keep playing and to keep advancing and keep going on the pitch. So it was very frustrating for the first half an hour to see the game be so stop-start and to see the ref not being willing to play the advantage and just to let the game get into its natural rhythm.
Niamh, you look at them teams today, all four teams today. We talked about Waterford. We thought from, again, the League of Ireland podcast that we do during the week. It's on Apple Podcast, Spotify, SoundCloud. Have a little listen. We talked about Waterford, one of the teams struggling this year. There's a few good players there, and it'll be interesting to see what Finn Harps, who have bows tomorrow, what Finn Harps have in their locker tomorrow, because I do think that Waterford will get better. I do think that there's players that get better. They look disjointed, but I think that'll fix itself. If Mike Newell can stop getting red cards and hang around the pitch, that might help. But has that changed your mind with Waterford? We kind of tipped them to be on the brink of relegation, if not relegated.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're stronger than I probably gave them credit for. Like I said, their defense specifically, they just need to get some confidence. I mean, that was a tough game, and you know, I do think they're stronger. They're more the linkage is better. They connect better with themselves than I thought they did. The midfield as well, particularly. Again, they probably need a go-to striker, but a lot of clubs, like I said, are missing that. But they'll find that. They'll find the confidence to link up and provide those assists as well. So yeah, I think I probably rated them a bit too low, but it's only been one game yet, so I can't be talking too much.
That's true, and we don't know what the others are like just yet. They might ruin us tomorrow. Finn Harps, Bows, Longford, Derry, Sligo, and Dundalk. Niamh, I'll stick with you. Sligo, Dundalk. What are you expecting realistically? Obviously, you're a Sligo person. What are you expecting realistically? You've seen Dundalk last week. Would you be happy if it was a draw? You got a point tomorrow.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping for, to be honest, is a draw, whether it be 0-0 or 1-1. I'd obviously love to see a score, but we've got a brilliant keeper. Ed McGinty is a brilliant keeper. He's had some superb saves, so I expect him. And we've got a good few new people in the midfield as well, like Bulger particularly. He links up very well with the front. I'm not sure if Johnny Kenny's going to be on or not, but he's their go-to striker, I think. I mean, he's only played the pre-season friendlies yet, but yeah, I think it'll be a very tight game, and if it's something like the President's Cup, a very rough game as well. You know, we're quite a strong side as well and quite a physical side. So a draw is what I'm hoping for. I think it'll be tight either way.
Yeah. Nathan, what about Longford? Derry, Longford are the new boys. It's hard to make an impact on your first season. Drogheda have got a great result there today. Can Longford get at them tomorrow?
I think they'll fancy themselves a little bit. I think if it was up in the Brandywell, I'd fancy Derry City a little bit more. But the fact that it's in Bishopsgate, you have to give a little bit of an advantage to Longford, even if there's no crowds. You know, like it's going to be a tough place to go this season. I do think this. We said it in the podcast. I think they will struggle this year. I think if you look at Longford's squad, the likes of Drogheda, Finn Harps, and maybe even Waterford, like I still do think Waterford will struggle on the evidence of what you've seen earlier. But especially the likes of Finn Harps and Drogheda, I think that the squads are a lot better than the likes of Longford. That's not to discredit Longford. There were some good players in that squad, you know. Aaron McCabe, Aaron Bolger, Ed Dervin, Rob Manley. Players like this that are going to have big seasons and they're going to have to really impress and show the quality, especially the likes of Manley and Dervin, who really impressed in the first division last season. So these are guys that are going to have to step up, but it's a difficult task, you know. Derry City, again, we tipped them as just sort of an unknown quantity this season. And they brought in the likes of David Parkhouse, but there's a couple of lone guys in. There's more so some sensible signings than glamorous signings, you know, getting Danny Lafferty in, for example, from Shamrock Rovers. These aren't things to be writing home about, but they're sensible signings. But they are a side that have really let a lot of players go from last season, a lot of key players from last season. So there is a bit of an unknown quantity around Derry City, and I think if Longford can come out with a draw tomorrow, I think they'll be pretty happy with that one, because it's going to be a tight game. You know, there's two sides that might be in the lower half of the table, especially Longford, in my opinion. I think they really will struggle. Yeah, I think that the home advantage might play out a little bit for Longford, so I wouldn't be surprised to see it end up as a draw, to be honest.
Okay, right. So that's a yes, Nathan, is it?
That's a yes. That's a very long yes. But where's the fun of that?
Neve, Nathan said to us on the podcast during the week that he reckons Bohs could finish second this year. He reckons they can skip over Dundalk. When you look at Dundalk, when you look at Pats and Rovers, now we've kind of seen up close and personal. You see Rovers are kind of dragged back into the pack, albeit they still could win the league. There's no doubt about that. They're still strong enough, as Nathan alluded to have a squad that can definitely go on and win a league. But could Bohs sneak that little bit closer just on the viewing that we've seen today?
Yeah, I think so. Like, I think they'll be up in the top few of the table without a doubt. They've had some really impressive signings as well. It's so hard to predict when you haven't seen them play yet, but I do see them being up there. And like I said, Shamrock Rovers have leveled down a bit. I think they're not as high and hot as they used to be. So yeah, I see Bohs being up close. The signings, they've got some great signings. Like, that'll make a major difference.
Yeah.
I think it will be a definitely. I know we did say in the podcast, but we'll just say it again if anyone else listening in. There was a lot of people thinking that it was going to be a very straightforward Shamrock Rovers title defence, and yeah, I agree with Neve. I really can't see that happening. I think that like I said, the likes of Jack Byrne, Aaron McAneff are two massive players to lose out on. I think Dundalk are a little bit of there's a lot of uncertainty around Dundalk on and off the field. So who knows if that's going to happen. But same with Bohemians. Bohemians have lost the likes of Danny Grant and Andre Roy. Yeah. Kept calling him Andre Ward on the podcast. I don't know why. But just a bit of a boxing head of me. But yeah, I think Bohs will be looking for the likes of Stephen Mallon and Georgie Kelly to really kick off. And if them two players for Bohemians could kick off and hit the ground running and start providing the goals that Wright and Grant did, I think Bohs will look very good this season.
Nathan, what did you think of the Watch LOI coverage so far? I know it's only the one game, but it's not any different in my opinion than it was last year, bar they have a co-commentator.
Yeah, no, pretty much that's it. I turned on the Drogheda and Waterford game, and I don't like to pick on anybody, Roy. You know me, I'm a delicate soul. I like to be nice. But when I seen Siobhan Madigan commentator, I openly groaned. I openly went, "Oh Jesus Christ, here we go."
What is it that you don't? What is it that you don't like about her commentating?
A lot of people
Because
say that.
I know. I was listening to the comment. I got used to her. I thought she was okay. Like, I mean, I'm not saying that she's the best around, and I think she'll always say that she can improve. But what is it that bothers you?
Right, quick, right, here we go. Actually, an experiment for you now. So let's say you do find this annoying. So if I start talking like this, would that do your head in for 90 minutes if I kept putting gaps in between?
Nathan, my head is done every time I'm listening to you. So
yeah, but you've had to listen to me for a year, mate. Anyone's head's going to be wrecked listening to me for a year. The people have been listening to me now for 35 minutes in this live stream, and they're probably like, Jesus Christ. But that's why I don't apply for jobs in Watch League of Ireland as a commentator. Yeah, no, it's like, and again, look, it's not to be overly mean or anything. It's just last year she wound me up a little bit because there was a lot of stupid mistakes, factual bias that were getting really messed up. In fairness, there was none of that today. In fairness to her,
in fairness, there wasn't.
And I'm not trying to be overly mean. I thought she was really, really helped with having a co-commentator there. I thought Declan Fabio O'Brien done a grand job. He came across as he gave a goal.
Came across as a Drogheda United supporter. That's what he came across as.
He did indeed, yeah. He did indeed. He's watching Jermaine Genius and Tottenham are playing on BBC. Jesus Christ. Yeah, but he was good. He sort of gave like a professional insight a little bit, you know, to also the mentality of the players coming in straight in from pre-season and things like that. I thought she was really helped by having a co-commentator. And yeah, look, in fairness, the mistakes were they were non-existent in this game. But if she just stop talking like Stevie or Malcolm in the middle, two people will get that reference. I'll be very happy.
Niamh, what did you make of it?
Sorry, it's after freezing there for a second. Yeah, no, I mean,
that's all right. What did you make of the commentary?
Considering the price cost, the increase in the cost, I don't think it was really worth it. It's pretty much the exact same, apart from the co-commentators. Replays would have been brilliant. I mean, I think that's what a lot of fans are looking for, replays, just to show those, those free kicks, those cards, those bookings, penalties, even things like that for highlights. That's the main thing that bothers me, is there's no replays. Like, looking at the match there tonight with RTE, it was class because you could see everything coming over and over again. You could get a proper look at it. But apart from that, look, we have to just appreciate the fact we have it at all, I think. There's no point moaning about it too much. It's never going to be the same as being in the showgrounds or in any stands, sorry. But it's the closest I can get.
Yeah, so Nathan, shut up.
No, I won't. And I won't stop moaning until Siobhan can have sentences without taking breaks. Now, in fairness, there was no difference for me. There was a couple of like the introduction package. Like they had the little intro before the thing started. That was a nice touch. There was like a 20-second ads during half time. I thought, oh great, there's going to be ads during half time or something. No, there's just 20 seconds of an ad, and then I went back to the lads warming up, and even during half time, the camera was slowly dipping and dipping and dipping. And
it was
like a man just went for a cup of tea, didn't he, and just left the camera on. So things like that.
They could do with having even the highlights of the first half on the halfway or the halftime part, instead of watching the lads warm up. And I think I checked out every house in the background just to see what was going on in the background. And you could hear the commentator come in before the game started as well. Is that all right to say here or whatever, So yeah, it could just be that little bit more professional. And it's only small little touches. It wouldn't take that much to do that, would it?
No. And we know what professional is, Roy. We started this live stream talking about me having an echo in the background, so we know what professional is. But no, it wouldn't.
They always say your first is the worst, so this is it.
Yeah,
it only gets better than this.
Oh, it does. The only way is up, lads. The only way is up. But yeah,
let's finish it off with the two games. We just say with Drogheda and Waterford. With Drogheda, we talked about Waterford. With Drogheda United, could you see them pushing mid-table, or is this just one of those games that they've played a team that are down near the bottom and they've just got the upper hand this time? We're going Niamh, sorry.
Yeah, well, I don't want to be offensive to Drogheda or anything. Like, I do think they've talent there, they've players there, but I don't think they'll make it to the mid-table myself. They're kind of lacking that linkage in the midfield sometimes as well. But their defense is quite strong. But I think tonight was just kind of it was lucky in a way. But I think they'll be more playing for survival more than anything else. I don't think they're going to make it too far up. But that's just my opinion. You never know what could happen. They could surprise us.
If Darren Markey wasn't injured or didn't have cramp or whatever it was, he was that player that was linking everything up. I mean, they got the win, so Tim Clancy is he's got the 3 points. You can't say anything against it, but he definitely looked the best out there, Nathan.
Yeah, definitely. I think they'll be okay. I can't see them struggling for relegation, really. They'll be down. Look, they will be around 7th place. I can't see them fighting for Europe or anything like that. I just think they have enough in the squad. You know, even looking at the bench, there was a couple of players on the bench that they're good players. You know, the guys that can come on and like even when they were protecting the goal, they were winning on Hugh Douglas, which it was a very experienced player and a very, very good player at that level too. You know. So to be able to bring even the likes of him off the bench, and this is a squad that only got newly promoted this season. So the strength and depth is fairly decent for a side like Drogheda, and I think they'll be fine. You know, I think, like we said, you look at compared to Drogheda squad to the likes of Longford and Waterford, I think they'll be okay. I said they'd probably finish at 7th, and looking at them today, it's happy to be confident saying that now because they won the game. But yeah, I think after looking at them today and looking at the squad and looking at how they lay out. Like I said, Darren Markey is that link-up play. They have a couple of strikers that you think once you get going, like Mark Doyle, Chris Lyons and Ronan Murray, once you get going, you know, they could chip in with a couple of goals together. I think they'd be fine.
Yeah, and they've got an easy game next week against St. Pat's, away against St. Pat's. So that'll be an interesting one. I'll let you go on that, Nathan. When you look at Drogheda now and you look at St. Pat's today, you'll be confident, will you?
Yeah, you have to be, don't you?
Or is that just cockiness?
Yeah, it's a bit of both, isn't it? A bit of both. It's nice.
That's the way the Dubs are.
Yeah, you said it. You said it, and so I'm sure 300 people watching this have said that too. Yeah, look, why not? Why not? You know, I thought Pat's done well today. The fact that we're talking about Pat's leaving Tallaght Stadium with a draw and being disappointed with that outcome, I think that says a lot of how they done. I think Pat's gone back to Richmond Park. You would fancy them to beat the likes of Drogheda. Now, it won't be easy. I can't see them steamrolling. By going off that one performance, I can't see many people steamrolling Drogheda. I think they have a very balanced side. You have players that will link up the play nicely. And like I said, once you can find someone to chip in with the goals, I think they'll be okay. And yeah, look, as a St. Pat's fan, I'll be quietly confident going into the game. I think Pats are a little bit thin squad-wise, but again, once Matty Smith and Ronan Coughlin get off the mark with the goals, I think they'll be okay.
Yeah, I was hugely impressed myself now with Matty Smith. I thought he went about his business really, really well. Kind of reminded me of Ray Houghton in his peak, where he was just busy all the time. He didn't give anyone any time, and he was good on the ball as well. Niamh, just to finish it off, Shamrock Rovers are away to Derry City next week. Dundalk have to play Sligo, so that's a handy 3 points, as you said already, for Dundalk. But if Dundalk win that game against Sligo, they're playing Finn Harps the next week. It's highly possible that at the end of this week, 7 days, that Shamrock Rovers could be stuck on 2 points and Dundalk could get their 6 points, and already there's a little gap. So there's fine margins, isn't there? Now, I'm not putting out, I actually think Sligo are going to do really well this year, but it could easily go that way. We know the strength and depth that Dundalk have. So there could be a little bit of doubt. We've seen this before, the season before, where Shamrock Rovers started off a little bit dodgy. It just got away from them.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, I can see Dundalk going up quite high now for the next week or two, but then again, Shamrock Rovers can end up dominating a couple of weeks after that. It's very hard to tell. But yeah, I mean, the line between Dundalk and Shamrock Rovers is quite thin as well. And yeah, exactly. If they end up playing Finn Harps, which, well, hopefully they don't win us, but if they do end up playing Finn Harps, I mean, it'd be quite, I think they'd probably dominate Finn Harps. It's quite in the dark with them. I don't really know. There's a lack of substantial signings, I think, and they just need to keep winning points. They're not in the area of relegation, maybe. I don't think they'll be, but they've not got that same quality, and that same connection and talent and player range, I think, that Dundalk have.
Yeah.
So they could easily
Nathan, we'll finish off with you. player of the day, I suppose. Who stood out for you the most today?
Oh God, it's a toughie. Like I said, I thought Marky done well, but he got taken off to Weary, so I think it'd be a bit of a strange one to give it to him. Yeah, look, I hate watching stuff like this and the person like in the team's jersey giving it to their player. I'm like, piss off, mate, you know. But I do think Jarvis and goal for Pats really did impress me. Me particularly, I had a lot of questions around.
Would you go as far as saying that he was? Are you just impressed because you didn't fancy him in the first place, and now all of a sudden he's better than absolute rubbish?
Well, yeah, we all like a surprise, don't we? All like to be surprised. In fairness, he pulled off like the save for Danny Mandrew. That was a cracking shot, great save. He looked confident, the guy that's 19, very commanding. The goal, nothing he could do about that. He pulled off a number of good saves, and especially in a day like today where there wasn't a real substantial standout player. Both the two of the games were fairly similar in terms of they were very tight, contested games. I think it's hard to point out anybody that was a real influence. Even like we said, Chris McCann and Chris Forrester, these sort of players, they all went quietly about their business and they all more so pulled the strings rather than, like making darting runs and things like that. So I think players like Jarvis and like McCann, for example, these are the players that will impress in games like the two games today where they're so close.
Okay. Right, well, I'll give that to one to you. I'll give it to the person with the St. Pat's top on. All right. And listen, we're back next week. We'll have a show on during the week. It's been recorded over the weekend, so have a look out for the Big Kickoff League of Ireland show on YouTube. Of course, the podcast will be here next week as well. That will be released probably on Thursday. We'll be looking back on everything that's happened over the weekend and a look to the games at the weekend coming, of course, the matches that we just discussed. If you know anyone loves League of Ireland, get them onto us and get them to subscribe. Okay. Nathan, thanks very much. Niamh, thanks very much. I'll be talking to you very soon. And everyone out there, thank you very much as well.